The morning of the national graduation final, the entire examination hall was empty. Except for me. One desk. One answer booklet. One pencil. One student sitting beneath the cold, white lights while three invigilators stared at the empty rows behind me. My phone vibrated inside my bag again and again. The class group chat had exploded. "Mira, where are you? The road is blocked. The bus can't get back. Tell the exam office to delay it. You're already there, right? Say something." Then Livia's private message appeared. "Mira, please. You knew this would happen, didn't you?" I looked at the message. In my last life, I was on that bus with them. I screamed until my voice broke, begging everyone to return to campus the night before the final. No one listened. Livia cried first. Theo said I was ruining the trip because I hated seeing her happy. The whole class laughed, handed my phone to the dorm monitor, and told me to stop being dramatic. Then the mountain road flooded. The bus was trapped until noon. We all missed the final. But somehow, when the school opened an investigation, everyone blamed me. They said I was the top student, so I must have known the exam gate closed at 8. They said I deliberately stayed quiet. Livia sobbed and said, "Mira promised." She checked the schedule. Theo stood beside her and said, "I believe Livia." I lost my graduation certificate. My scholarship offer was revoked. My mother collapsed from stress 2 weeks later. And I died a year after that, working night shifts in a convenience store, still dreaming of the university I never reached.
But now?
Now I was reborn. Back to the day before the dorm trip. This time, when Livia begged me to come, I pressed a hand to my forehead and whispered, "I think I have a fever." The whole class went without me. And while they were taking photos by the mountain lake, I was sitting alone in the final exam hall, writing my future back under my own name. Chapter 1. When I opened my eyes, I was lying in my dorm bed with sunlight cutting across my face. For a moment, I thought I was still dead. Then I heard laughter. Loud, bright, careless laughter from the hallway. "Mira, wake up," someone shouted through the door. "Trip day." My heart stopped. Trip day.
No.
I sat up so fast the room spun. The dormitory came into focus. 2 beds.
2 desks.
A cracked mirror near the wardrobe. A blue suitcase open on the floor. My old school blazer hanging from the chair. And on my desk, a printed exam notice. National graduation final. Gate closes 8 a.m. sharp. No late entry. No makeup examination except certified medical emergency. My hands started shaking. I was back. Back to St. Aurelia Academy. Back to the day before the final exam. Back to the morning of the dorm trip that destroyed my life. The door swung open before I could breathe. Livia Vale stepped inside wearing a pale yellow dress and the soft smile everyone in our class worshipped. Livia. The class belle. The dorm princess. The girl who could cry with one tear and make 30 people apologize. Her brown hair was braided over one shoulder. Her skin looked almost translucent in the morning light. She held a paper bag of pastries against her chest like an offering. "Mira," she said softly, "you're still not packed." Behind her stood Theo. My childhood friend. My almost boyfriend. The boy who once promised we would both graduate first, enter Northbridge University together, and never let anyone decide our future for us. He leaned against the doorframe with his arms folded. His eyes moved from my unpacked suitcase to my face. "You're not trying to skip again, are you?" Again. In my last life, I had hesitated too. Not because I hated the trip. Because I had checked the weather report, the road notice, and the exam gate time. The mountain route was under storm warning. The school bus company had already posted a possible closure notice. And the final exam had no second sitting. I told them all of that. Livia lowered her eyes and said, "Mira, this is our last memory as a class. Why do you always have to make things tense?" Everyone turned on me. Theo most of all. "You're not the only one who cares about the final," he said back then. "Stop acting like the rest of us are stupid." I went because I was tired of being hated. That was my mistake. Now, reborn, I looked at the same 2 faces and felt something cold settle in my chest. Livia placed the pastry bag on my desk. I got your favorite red bean buns. She always did that. Gave small kindnesses in public. Took larger things in private. Theo stepped into the room. Mira, the bus leaves in 40 minutes. I know, he frowned. Then pack. I looked at him. In my last life, I had loved Theo like a secret I kept under my tongue. He was the boy who helped me study when my father died. The boy who walked me home when other students mocked my second-hand uniform. The boy who used to say Livia was too spoiled. Then Livia transferred into our class in final year. She was helpless in beautiful ways. Could not carry boxes.
Could not understand physics.
Could not eat cafeteria food unless someone warmed it for her. Theo started warming it. Started explaining physics. Started carrying her bags. Whenever I objected, he said, Mira, you're strong. She needs help. In my last life, that sentence followed me all the way to ruin. I pushed the blanket aside and stood. I'm not going. The room went quiet. Livia blinked. Theo's expression darkened. What? I'm not going. Livia stepped closer. Mira, did I do something wrong? There it was. Not anger. Not accusation. A question shaped like a trap. If I said yes, I was petty. If I said no, I had no reason to refuse. I pressed the back of my hand to my forehead and let my voice weaken. I don't feel well. Theo's brows pulled together. You were fine yesterday. I'm not fine now. Livia's eyes glistened. But everyone is expecting you. Your class representative. Exactly. In my last life, that title became the rope around my neck. Because I was class representative, everyone said I should have protected the schedule. Because I was top student, everyone said I must have known the risk. Because I was responsible, everyone made me responsible for their irresponsibility. I'm resigning from trip duties, I said.
Theo, stay.
Mira, don't be childish. The word landed like an old bruise. Childish. Cold. Jealous.
Selfish.
All the names people used when I stopped being convenient. Livia touched his sleeve. Theo, don't scold her. If she's really sick, her voice trembled perfectly. Theo softened immediately. I almost smiled. Some performances never changed. He looked at me again.
Fine. Stay.
But don't complain later when everyone talks about memories you missed. I looked straight at him. I won't. Livia hesitated. For 1 second, her eyes moved to the exam notice on my desk. Then away. She knew. Maybe not everything. But she knew enough. She knew the gate closed at 8. She knew the trip return plan was risky. She knew I was the only one who had checked the details carefully. And still, she wanted me on that bus. Because if disaster came, it would need a responsible person to blame. This time, I picked up the exam notice, folded it, and placed it in my drawer. Livia's smile stiffened. I hope you feel better, she whispered. Thank you. Theo turned away first. Livia followed him. At the doorway, she looked back. Mira, you'll message us if there's anything important, right? In my last life, I messaged, called, begged, screamed. No one listened. This time I smiled. Check the official portal. Her fingers tightened on the doorframe. Then she left. Chapter 2. The dormitory became quiet after the bus departed. Too quiet. For the first time in months, St. Aurelia's West dorm had no music, no hair dryers, no girls running between rooms asking to borrow earrings. Just wind against the windows.
And me.
I walked to the mirror and looked at myself.
Mira Han.
18. Scholarship student. Class representative. Top rank for 3 years. Dark hair cut just below the shoulders. Eyes too tired for my age. In my last life, those eyes had become dull by 20. Now they were alive again.
Angry.
But alive. My phone buzzed. Class group chat. Livia sent a photo. It was the whole class in front of the bus. 31 students. Theo stood beside Livia, holding her white cardigan. Livia was smiling, one hand raised in a peace sign. The caption read, "Last trip before freedom. Wish our sick class rep could have come." Replies flooded in. "Mira, you're missing out. Don't study too hard, lol." She's probably pretending to be sick, so she can rank first again. Classic Mira. I stared at the messages. In my last life, I had cared so much about being understood. This time I placed the phone face down. Then I began preparing. First, I checked the official exam portal. Same notice. Gate closes at 8 a.m. No late entry. Then I checked the weather. Storm warning for North Ridge Road. Heavy rainfall expected overnight. Possible closures from 5 a.m. Then I checked the class trip itinerary Livia had posted. Return departure, 5:30 a.m. Arrival at campus, 7:30 a.m. Exam gate closes, 8 a.m. It had always been madness. Even without the storm, one delay would ruin everything. In my last life, I told them. Livia said, Mira, why are you trying to scare everyone? Theo said, you think only your future matters? The dorm monitor said we voted. Majority wants to go. So we went. Democracy, they called it, until consequences arrived. Then it became my fault. I opened my backpack and packed for the final. Admission card. Student ID. Clear pencil case. 2 black pens. 2 pencils. Eraser. Water bottle. A small packet of fever medicine just in case someone asked. Then I opened my study notes. For an hour, I revised cardiac physiology. For another, constitutional law. Then literature. Then ethics. By evening, the group chat was full of lake photos. Students sitting around a bonfire. Livia holding a sparkler. Theo smiling beside her. Someone tagged me. Mira still alive? I typed one message. Remember to check the official exam portal tonight. Gate closes 8 a.m. The chat went quiet for 12 seconds. Then the replies came. There she goes again. Relax, class rep. We know. The bus gets back at 7:30. Stop acting like our mother. Then Livia replied. Mira is just worried because she cares. Don't tease her. That sentence looked kind. It was not. It made me look anxious, controlling, pitiful. Theo messaged privately a minute later. Why can't you just let people enjoy one night? I looked at his message for a long time. Then I replied, enjoy it. He did not answer. At 10:46 p.m., rain began tapping against the dorm window. Softly at first, then harder. By midnight, it sounded like stones. I lay in bed fully dressed, listening. In my last life, this was when I sat on the bus returning from the lake, watching rain smear the windows while anxiety clawed at my throat. At 1:30 a.m., the bus driver announced the road ahead was unstable. At 3 o'clock, the mountain patrol stopped us. At 5:20, the road closed. At 6 o'clock, I begged everyone to walk to the lower checkpoint. At 6:10, Livia cried because I was causing panic. At 6:15, Theo took my phone. At 8 o'clock, the exam gate closed. At 8:01, my future ended. Now, lying alone in my dorm, I closed my eyes. At 5:30 a.m., my alarm rang. I got up, washed my face, tied my hair, put on my uniform. Outside, the rain had slowed to a mist. I checked the road update. North Ridge Road closed due to overnight flooding. Estimated reopening after 12 p.m. My phone began vibrating. The class group chat had awakened. Wait, road closed? Is this real? The driver says we can't leave. No signal earlier. Someone call school. Then, Mira. Mira, are you awake? Mira, answer. I picked up my admission card and slid it into my pocket. Then I left for the examination hall. Chapter 3. The campus was almost empty at dawn. Rainwater shone on the stone paths. The cherry trees near the library dripped quietly. Every step I took felt unreal. In my last life, I never saw a campus like this on exam morning. I only imagined it from the trapped bus window, picturing the exam hall doors closing without me. Now I walked toward those doors alone. At 7:12 a.m., Theo called. I watched his name flash on the screen.
Once. Twice.
3 times. I did not answer. Then Livia called. I did not answer her either. At 7:25, I reached the exam building. The invigilator at the gate looked surprised. Candidate name?
Mira Han.
He checked his list. His eyebrows lifted slightly. You're early. Yes. Where is the rest of St. Aurelia Class A? I looked at the rain sliding down the window. I don't know. That was not entirely true. But it was not my job anymore to rescue people from facts they had mocked. The invigilator scanned my ID. Proceed to Hall 3. I entered. Hall 3 was large enough for 100 students. Rows of desks stood beneath bright lights. My footsteps echoed. A female invigilator watched me approach. Seat 14.
Iset.
The room swallowed me. One student. 30 empty seats from Class A. My phone buzzed again inside my sealed bag at the front of the room. I could not read it now. Good. At 7:55, the chief invigilator checked the clock. At 8 o'clock, he closed the hall doors. The sound was soft. Final. He looked across the empty room, then at me. Begin. I opened the paper. For 1 second, my vision blurred. Not because I was sad. Because the question in front of me was the same one from my last life. The essay prompt. Discuss the ethical consequences of collective negligence when responsibility is displaced onto a single individual. A laugh almost escaped me. Instead, I picked up my pen and began writing. Collective negligence. Responsibility displaced. A single individual. I knew this answer. I had lived it. The first hour passed. Then the second. Outside the windows, the rain thinned into silver. Inside the hall, pages turned only under my hands. At 10:30, during the short break between papers, the invigilator allowed me to collect my sealed bag. My phone had 73 notifications. Group chat. Mira, please answer. The exam office won't delay it. They said no late entry. Can you tell them the whole class is trapped? Mira, your class rep, do something. Why did you go without us? You knew the road would close. You warned us once. Why didn't you keep warning us? Then Livia. Mira, I'm scared. Everyone is blaming me. Please tell them you approved the itinerary. There it was. The same knife. Not, are you okay? Not, good luck. Not, I'm sorry we ignored you. Only, please share the blame. Theo's messages came next. Mira, pick up. This is serious. Livia is crying. If you're in the hall, talk to someone. You can still help us. Don't be cruel. I stared at the last message. Cruel. The word almost made me smile. In my last life, they called me cruel while I was crying on the bus floor, begging them to believe the exam mattered. Now I was cruel because I believed myself first. The invigilator said, "Phones away. Next paper begins in 5 minutes." I turned my phone off. Then I returned to my seat. Chapter 4. By the time the final paper ended, the sun had broken through the clouds. The whole hall glowed pale gold. I placed my pen down. My wrist hurt. My eyes burned. But the answer booklet in front of me was full. Full of my handwriting, my thoughts, my future. The chief invigilator collected my papers personally. Well done, he said quietly. 2 simple words. I nearly cried. Not because of the exam. Because in my last life, no adult had said that to me. They said, "Why didn't you stop them? Why didn't you remind everyone? Why did you go if you knew? Why are you blaming Livia? Why are you making this harder?" Never. Well done. I bowed and left the hall. Outside, reporters had not arrived yet. Parents had not gathered. The campus was still peaceful. Then my phone turned on. It exploded. 142 messages. 20 missed calls. 3 from Theo. 7 from Livia. 12 from the dorm monitor. The group chat was chaos. They won't let us sit makeup. The exam board said travel delays aren't medical emergencies. We're finished. Mira took it alone. Are you kidding me? She really went alone? She wanted this. She warned us. No, she only warned once. Livia said Mira check the schedule. Mira was class rep. Why is this her fault? We all saw the portal. That last message was from Nari, my roommate from the next room. The only person who had not gone on the trip because her grandmother was ill. In my last life, she was also the only one who quietly told the inquiry board, Mira tried to warn us. No one listened. This time, her message split the chat like a blade. Then she sent a screenshot. My message from last night. Remember to check the official exam portal tonight. Gate closes 8 a.m. Then another screenshot. The road warning from the school transport office. Then another. Livia's itinerary showing the impossible return time. The chat went silent. Then Livia messaged. I didn't know the road would close. Nari replied. Mira did. She told you all. You laughed. I stared at the screen. For a moment I felt something like warmth. Being believed early is different from being believed after the grave. Theo called again. This time, I answered. For 3 seconds there was only breathing. Then he said, Mira? His voice was hoarse. I looked across the wet courtyard. Theo. You took the exam? Yes. Silence. Then alone? Yes. He exhaled shakily. Livia is falling apart. Of course. Livia was always falling apart when consequences arrived. I said nothing. He continued, the exam board won't approve a makeup. They said the final notice was clear. It was. Mira, his voice cracked. You knew the road might close. I did. Why didn't you stop us? I closed my eyes. There it was. Not apology. Not accountability. A question built to put me back in the cage. I tried last time, I said. What? I opened my eyes. Nothing. He sounded desperate now. Can you tell the school you were responsible for the itinerary? If the blame is administrative, maybe they'll reconsider the class appeal. I laughed. Softly. The sound frightened even me. You want me to say I caused it? No, not caused. Just you were class rep. If you explain that everyone relied on you, I was sick, remember? He stopped. You weren't really sick. Can you prove that? His silence answered. In my last life, they used every technicality to bury me. This time, I had learned the language. He whispered, You planned this. No, I said. I survived it. That's not fair. Neither were you. His breath trembled. I didn't know it would be this bad. I looked at the exam building behind me. It was this bad when it happened to me. Again, silence. Because he did not remember. Only I carried both versions of him. The boy who once promised me Northbridge. The boy who took my phone on the bus. The boy who stood beside Livia at the inquiry and said, Mira always acted superior. Maybe she wanted us to fail. That version of him lived in me, even if he had not happened in this life. Finally, Theo said, Do you hate me? I thought about it. The honest answer surprised me. No. He breathed in. Then I said, I just don't trust you enough to hate you anymore. I ended the call. Chapter 5. The investigation began the next morning. The academy could not ignore an entire class missing the national graduation final. Parents arrived furious. Students cried in hallways. Teachers held emergency meetings. And Livia, beautiful Livia, sat outside the dean's office wrapped in Theo's jacket, sobbing into a tissue. I arrived with my exam confirmation slip and a certified note from the campus clinic. The note said, student reported fever symptoms and remained in dormitory. Advised rest. It was not false. I had reported symptoms. The nurse had taken my temperature after I warmed my forehead with a heat patch. Mild fever reading. Enough. In my last life, Livia weaponized tears. This life, I learned documentation. When I entered the dean's office, everyone turned. 30 pairs of eyes. Some angry. Some ashamed. Some still looking for someone else to blame. The dean sat behind his desk, expression severe. Mira. Yes, sir. You are the only student from Class A to sit the final. Yes. Livia lifted her head. Her eyes were swollen. Mira, she whispered, please tell them you knew about the itinerary. I looked at her. She looked smaller than usual, less like a class belle, more like a girl whose mirror had cracked. I knew the itinerary was risky, I said. The room stirred. Livia's eyes lit with hope. Then I continued. That is why I warned the group to check the official portal. That is why I chose not to attend. The hope died. The dean looked at the printed chat logs on his desk. You sent one warning at 8:14 p.m. Yes. A boy from the back shouted. One warning wasn't enough. Nari, sitting near the door, snapped. You needed a babysitter to read an exam notice? The boy went red. Theo stood beside Livia, pale and silent. The dean raised a hand. Enough. He turned to Livia. Miss Vale, you organized the trip? Livia trembled. With the dorm committee. Did you confirm the return schedule against the final exam notice? I thought, her voice broke. I thought we had enough time. Did you receive the transport office warning about North Ridge Road? She looked down. Theo's head turned toward her. That was new. In my last life, no one questioned her. The dean repeated. Did you receive it? Livia whispered. Yes. The room froze. Someone said, what? She began to cry harder. I didn't want to ruin everyone's last memory. The warning said possible closure, not definite. I thought it would be fine. The dorm monitor stood. You told us Mira checked everything. Livia covered her mouth. I thought she had. I laughed once. Every face turned to me. I should not have laughed. But some lies are so shameless they become comedy.
The dean looked at me.
Mira? I opened my folder and placed 3 pages on his desk. The first is my message stating I would not attend due to illness. The second is my group chat warning telling everyone to check the official portal. The third is the transport warning sent to the dorm committee account, which I was removed from last week after Livia said I was making the trip too stressful. Livia went white. Theo stared at her. You removed Mira? Livia whispered. I just wanted everyone to relax.
No.
She wanted control. And when control failed, she wanted a scapegoat. The dean removed his glasses. The academy will submit an appeal for the affected students, but I will be clear. The National Board rarely grants makeup examinations for voluntary travel delays. A girl burst into tears. A boy kicked a chair. The dorm monitor cursed under his breath. Livia looked at me like I had stabbed her. Mira, she whispered. You could have tried harder. The room went quiet. In my last life, those exact words came from Theo. After I lost everything. After my mother collapsed. After the board rejected my appeal. You could have tried harder to stop us. This time, I stood. No, I said. I tried enough. Livia flinched. I looked around the room. All of you knew the final was today. All of you had phones. All of you saw the portal. All of you chose a mountain trip the night before the most important exam of our lives. No one spoke. My voice stayed calm. That made it sharper. I was class representative, not your mother. Not your alarm clock. Not your insurance policy. Theo's eyes reddened. I looked at him last. And I am done being the person everyone blames when their choices become expensive. Then I walked out. This time, no one stopped me. Chapter 6. The appeal failed.
Of course it did.
The National Board issued a short statement. Candidates who voluntarily left campus before a scheduled final examination are responsible for timely attendance. Road closures and travel delays from non-essential trips do not qualify for makeup examination eligibility. 30 students lost their graduation ranking. Some had to repeat the year. Some lost university offers. Some parents threatened lawsuits. The academy punished the dorm committee. Livia lost her recommendation to the Imperial Arts Medicine dual program. Theo lost his conditional Northbridge admission because his final score was incomplete.
And me?
I became first rank. Not because they failed. Because I had sat the exam and earned it. Still, the whispers came. Mira is scary. She knew and stayed silent. She faked being sick. She wanted Livia ruined. Nari heard one girl say that in the cafeteria and poured soup onto her shoes. I told her that was unnecessary. She said, it was cold soup. That was the closest I came to laughing that week. Theo came to find me 3 days after the appeal result. I was in the library collecting medical ethics books.
He stood at the end of the aisle.
For a moment, the sight of him hurt. Not much. Just enough to remind me that some wounds leave weather behind. Mira, he said. I slid a book into my bag. Theo. Can we talk? You're already talking. He looked down. His hair was messy. His uniform wrinkled. The perfect boy from my memory looked like someone had erased his outline. Livia lied, he said. Yes. I didn't know she removed you from the dorm committee. I know. He swallowed. But I should have asked. I said nothing. He stepped closer. I should have asked why you were worried. I should have answered your warnings seriously. I should have believed me before the disaster? His face twisted. Yes. The word fell between us. Too small. Too late. I'm sorry, he said. In my last life, I dreamed of that apology. I imagined it would heal something. It did not. It only proved he had been capable of understanding all along. He just needed the cost to reach him first.
Okay, I said.
He flinched. That's it. What else do you want? I don't know. His voice cracked. Anger. Anything. You're acting like I'm a stranger. I looked at him. You made yourself one. His eyes reddened. I cared about you. No, I said gently. You cared about the version of me who carried everything quietly. He looked like he wanted to argue. Then he did not.
Good.
Maybe he was learning. I lost Northbridge, he whispered. I closed my bag. I know. You're still going. Yes. His mouth trembled. We were supposed to go together. In another life, those words would have shattered me. In this one, they only sounded like an echo from a room I no longer lived in. We were, I said. He closed his eyes. When he opened them again, tears stood in them. Do I have any chance to fix this?
No.
He nodded slowly, like he had expected it, like hearing it still hurt. Because of Livia? I shook my head. Because of you. That was the truth he needed. Not Livia. Not the trip. Not the missed exam. Theo lost me when he decided my pain was less urgent because I did not decorate it with tears. He stepped back. I hope Northbridge treats you well. I'll make sure it does. For the first time, he smiled faintly. A sad, broken thing. That sounds like you. No, I said. It sounds like who I became. I left him in the library aisle, surrounded by books he would not need this year. Chapter 7. Livia disappeared from school for 2 weeks. When she returned, she no longer wore pastel ribbons.
No paddle clips. No soft cardigans.
Just a plain uniform and hollow eyes. People still comforted her, but less loudly now. Consequences make beauty less convincing. The day before graduation certificates were issued, she waited for me outside the old music room. Mira. I stopped. The hallway was empty. Rain pressed softly against the windows. Of course it was raining. Some scenes are shameless enough to repeat their own weather. Livia held her hands in front of her. No tears yet. That was new. I wanted to apologize, she said. I looked at her. For what? She flinched. For blaming you. I waited. For removing you from the committee. I waited. For saying you approved the itinerary. Still I waited. Her fingers tightened. Finally, she whispered, for wanting you there because I knew if something went wrong, everyone would look at you first. There it was.
The truth. Ugly. Small. Real.
I looked out the window. In my last life, I would have screamed. This life, the truth arrived after I no longer needed it.
Why?
I asked. Livia's lips trembled. Because you were always safe. I turned back. She laughed weakly, tears finally forming. That sounds ridiculous, doesn't it?
But it felt like that.
Mira always knows what to do. Mira always has the answer. Mira always lands on her feet. I thought if you came, nothing could really go wrong. And if it did, I would take the blame. She covered her mouth. Yes. The rain blurred the glass. For the first time, Livia did not look like a villain. She looked like a coward. That was worse in some ways. Villains have plans. Cowards just hand knives to the nearest person and cry when blood appears. I'm sorry, she whispered. I believed her. Not completely.
Not beautifully.
But enough to know she had finally seen herself. Your apology doesn't give anyone their exam back, I said. I know. It doesn't give me back what happened before either. Her brows drew together. Before? I shook my head. Never mind. She stepped forward. Mira, did you really know the road would close? I knew it might. And you stayed. Yes. Her voice broke. How could you be so calm? I looked at her. Because last time, panic didn't save me. She did not understand. She did not need to. The bell rang at the end of the hall. Students began spilling from classrooms. Our private moment cracked. Livia wiped her face quickly. Mira, she said, do you forgive me? I thought about saying yes. It would have been easy.
Clean.
A pretty ending for a pretty girl's regret. But I was tired of giving people pretty lies.
No, I said.
Her face crumpled. But I hope you become someone who doesn't need forgiveness so often. She lowered her head. I walked past her. This time, she did not follow. Chapter 8 graduation was strange. Half the seats were filled with students who would not really graduate. Some received attendance certificates instead of final rankings. Some parents cried. Some students stared at the stage like it had betrayed them. When my name was called for first rank, the applause was uneven at first. Then Nari stood and clapped loudly. A few others followed. Then more. I walked onto the stage. The dean handed me my certificate. His voice was quiet. You earned this, Mira. I held the paper carefully. In my last life, my hands had been empty on graduation day.
No certificate.
No offer. No future. Now, under the hot stage lights, I looked out and saw Theo standing at the back of the hall. He clapped once. Then again. Slowly. Not asking for anything. Not smiling. Just acknowledging what he had failed to protect. Livia sat near the aisle, face pale, hands folded. She did not clap at first. Then she did.
Softly.
I bowed.
Not to them.
To the girl from my last life. The one trapped on a bus while the exam doors closed. The one who begged. The one who was blamed. The one who never got to stand here. This certificate was hers too. After the ceremony, Nari found me near the courtyard. She held 2 cans of coffee. You look like you're about to cry, she said. I'm not. Good. Crying makes your nose red. I took the coffee. You're terrible at comfort. I'm excellent at facts. We sat under the cherry tree, where students used to gather after class. The campus smelled like rain and flowers. Nari opened her can.
So.
Northbridge? Yes. Leaving tomorrow? Yes. Good. I looked at her. You'll miss me?
No.
But this school will become boring without your revenge aura. I laughed then. For real.
The sound startled me.
Maybe because it had been so long since laughter did not taste bitter. That evening, I returned to the dormitory alone. Most rooms were already half-packed.
Livia's door was open.
She sat on her bed, folding clothes into a suitcase. For a second, we looked at each other across the hallway. Then she nodded.
Small. Quiet.
I nodded back. That was enough. Some relationships do not need dramatic endings. Some simply lose permission to continue. In my room, I packed my books, my exam notice, my certificate, the clinic note I no longer needed, but kept anyway. At the bottom of my drawer, I found the red bean bun Livia had brought me the morning of the trip. Still wrapped.
Stale now.
Hard as stone. I held it for a moment, then dropped it into the bin. Chapter 9 Northbridge University was colder than St. Aurelia. The buildings were taller. The students sharper. The exams crueler. No one knew me as the girl who faked a fever. No one knew Class A missed the final. No one knew Theo's name. No one cared that Livia had once been beautiful enough to bend a room. I was simply Mira Han. Scholarship student. First rank.
Alive.
On my first morning, I woke before dawn out of habit. For a few seconds, I panicked. Exam? Trip? Bus?
Then
I remembered. New dorm. New city. New life. Outside my window, the sky was pale blue.
no storm.
No mountain road. No group chat begging me to save people who had mocked the warning. I made tea. Opened my notebook. And wrote at the top of the first page, responsibility is not the same as sacrifice. Months passed. I studied. Slept badly. Ate better. Made two friends who checked schedules without being asked. Nari visited during winter break and immediately insulted my tiny dorm room. Theo sent one message in spring. I repeated the year. I'm trying to do it properly this time. I hope you're well. I did not reply. But I did not block him. Some ghosts become harmless once you stop feeding them. Livia sent a letter near the end of the year.
No perfume. No pastel envelope.
Just plain white paper. Mira, I used to think you abandoned us that morning. Now I think we abandoned ourselves long before the road closed. I'm repeating the year too. I don't know if I deserve another chance, but I'm trying not to waste it. I'm sorry I wanted your strength without caring about your fear. I'm sorry I made you responsible for choices I made. I don't expect forgiveness. I only wanted to say the thing I should have said before the bus ever left. You were right. Livia, I read the letter once, then folded it and placed it in a drawer. Not forgiven. Not forgotten. But no longer heavy. That night, rain fell over Northbridge. I stood by the window and watched it silver the streets. In my last life, rain meant a blocked road, a closed gate, and 30 voices turning my warning into blame. In this life, rain was only rain. My phone buzzed. A message from my new study group. Exam room confirmed for tomorrow.
Gate closes 8.
Everyone set alarms. I smiled. Good. See you there. Then I set my own alarm. Not because I was afraid. Because my future deserved care. The next morning, I walked to class beneath a clear sky.
No fever. No lie.
No bus. No one else's disaster strapped to my back. Just my books, my name, and the quiet certainty that I would never again climb into a vehicle headed the wrong way simply because everyone else called it friendship. In my last life, the whole class missed the final and made me the reason. In this life, I let them go without me. I let the road close. I let the exam gate shut. I let the truth become simple enough that no tears could rewrite it. And when the hall doors opened, I sat alone. Not abandoned. Not cruel. Not selfish. Alone because I had finally chosen myself. I picked up my pen. And this time, when the clock started, so did my life.